Conor McGregor and Eddie Alvarez was announced last week. Tell me your thoughts on that fight.
You know, that's a tough one to call. They don't come much tougher than Eddie Alvarez. I mean, his striking is top notch. He hits super hard, and he's a great wrestler. But Conor McGregor is he's for real. He's got cinder blocks in those fists. If he lands those, he connects those on anybody, they're going to wobble, and then he's going to take them apart. Maybe Eddie Alvarez's best shot is to take Conor down and just ground and pound him. That might be his best shot, and he might be able to do it. He might be able to just take Conor McGregor down at will, or I wouldn't be shocked either if Conor got to the point already where he's super, super hard to take down, and even a college wrestler can't take him down at will. And if he could stuff a couple of those shots and then land and strike, sprawl and brawl, he might be able to get Eddie Alvarez that way. It's just hard to tell. It's just hard to tell. Maybe Eddie's not even planning on taking him down. Maybe Eddie's planning on just standing and trading with him, which if I was Eddie's coach, I would say don't stand and trade with Conor McGregor. That's just plain Russian roulette. You might catch him, but he might catch you easily. Best bet is to take him down and keep him on the ground and pound him out there. Pass and pound. Try to get to the mountain. Pound him from the mountain. Let him give you his back like he did Nate Diaz. That would be the best strategy for Eddie Alvarez, in my opinion. The best strategy for Conor would be, of course, just do your thing. Just keep being Conor and counter punch just like he's been counter punching. I mean, he's got the best counters in that division, in my opinion. I mean, he's so good at countering anything you throw with some heavy, heavy power.
GSP and Anderson Silva hasn't been announced yet, but it's rumored that it's going to happen and at UFC 206. If that fight goes down, who do you have in that and why?
GSP and Anderson Silva?
Yeah.
Man, that's a hard one to call. That's a great match. That is such a good match. Wow. Who would I put my money on? You know what? I would put my money on Anderson Silva only because he's taller, lankier, bigger. But maybe GSP takes him down at will, and GSP's pretty good at passing. Anderson Silva's a black belt. It's not going to be an easy pass, but if GSP could take Anderson down, I believe he could pass his guard, and I believe GSP needs to needs to mount Anderson Silva and make him give him his back and pound him out that way and choke him. But who knows? Maybe GSP can't take Anderson Silva down, but going on past fights, I would bet money that GSP takes Anderson Silva down quite easily.
This past weekend, we saw Michael Bisping defend his title against Dan Henderson, but we saw him get dropped a few times, and we saw him get cracked and almost dropped a few more times. There's kind of a great continental divide there in fans that think that Bisping won and fans that think Henderson won. Who did you have win in that fight?
That's a tough one, because that's another one of those fights where Dan Henderson just was all over Bisping. He was all over him in the first 2 rounds. But then he kind of sort of slowed down a little bit towards the end, and it looked like Bisping was getting the upper hand at the end. That's a hard one to call. I scored it a draw. I gave the first round 10-8 to Bisping. If that wasn't 10-8, I don't know what the fuck. Just throw 10-8 out. So I gave him a 10-8.
To Henderson? To Henderson or Bisping?
No, to Henderson.
Oh, because you said Bisping. I was just making sure.
Oh yeah. Henderson, okay. 10-8, Henderson, first round, and then I gave the next round to Henderson as well, and then the following 3 rounds, you could make the argument that Bisping got the better of Henderson. I'd have to see it again, though. Really, I'd have to see the fight again. But from my memory, I gave Henderson 10-8 first round, 10-9 second round, and then Bisping, you could make an argument that he won the next 3 rounds. So that's a draw.
Yeah.
I think a draw would have been the best call.
I want to ask you your opinion on something in general, and that is the biggest changes that you've seen in the ground game in MMA as a whole.
The biggest change I've seen in the ground game definitely has been the leg lock revival. You know, there's always been leg lock experts sprinkled throughout the world, you know, and Russia, you know, that's where Sambo's from, and that's predominantly a leg lock system. You know, it came from Japan. Most leg locks, I think, came from Japan. The guys who, and Anthony Hardonk is a martial arts historian, and he was telling me that the reason the Russians got into leg locks was because the founders of Sambo lived in Japan and brought leg locks back from Japan, and then, you know, that's what happened in Russia. They got infected with that. So, you know, there's always been leg locks around. In Southern California, we've had Eric Paulson with his academy, CSW. We've had Gokor Chivichian, who's a Sambo expert, judo expert, who has his school, Hayastan, here in LA. There's always been leg locks around. 10 Planet, we've always had leg lock experts within 10 Planet. I'm a leg compression guy. Like, I'm good with leg locks, but leg compression. I was never really a heel hook master, but what John Danaher's done, you know, he's taken what he learned from Dean Lister. You know, Dean Lister is like, yeah, Dean Lister is the man. He was the one heel hooking everybody in Abu Dhabi before anybody. And he turned John Danaher onto leg locks, and then John Danaher, with his astrophysicist type of mind, put together a system of leg locks that right now is the best. You know, his leg lock system, the way he put it together, no one else, you know, no other leg lock master out there put it together quite like John Danaher. He's got so many assassins, you know. Eddie Cummings. Eddie Cummings is probably the best leg locker in the world. I would say he is. Show me a better leg locker than Eddie Cummings. You know, I doubt it. And then another one of his students, and Gordon Ryan, who are Tom DeBlass, black belt. But John Danaher, you know, injected his system into Tonin and Gordon Ryan. And those guys are just killing it in EBI, in my tournament. They're the most dominant. Danaher Death Squad, as they call them, DDS. They're the ones just dominating the EBI rules format, the submission-only format. They're fucking everybody up. So that, to me, is the biggest change in the game. You know, like I said, 10th Planet, we've always had leg locks in our system, and the traditional martial BJJ school, they, you know, some of them have always had leg locks in the system. You know, Helio's been doing leg locks. You know, Horion Gracie, he was doing leg locks in Karate Magazine, you know, 25 years ago. But no one has done it quite as heavy and as good as John Danaher. Nobody. He's proven it. So, you know, what that's done is that's made me, as the head of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, really turn up the leg locks at 10th Planet. So although we've always had heel hooks, now we're a little extra, a little heavier with them now, and it's made a big difference with our association. I mean, everybody at 10th Planet's heel hooking. You know, it's not just 3 guys per class anymore, or 1 guy per class, or 1 guy over here. Everybody's heel hooking now. The kids, the women, everybody. And thanks to what we've seen at EBI, you know, thanks to what we've seen the Danaher Death Squad do, man, all that did is just help me evolve more. You know, I thought, wow, I'm not heavy enough with the leg locks. I got to turn it up. So we turned it up over the last 2 years, and you know, we're a way better jiu-jitsu association because of it. So it's a beautiful thing.
Just a couple of more questions. My first of the 3 is, are we going to see Eddie Bravo compete anytime either on an Eddie Bravo Invitational or maybe in another jiu-jitsu promotion or maybe in one of the big tourneys, the Pan Ams or the Worlds or something along those lines?
Well, I just had back surgery, so I'm still recovering from that. I haven't rolled jiu-jitsu in about 4 months. I think I'm not gonna start rolling till January. It takes a while for you to recover from back surgery. So I don't know. I don't know if my body could take a high-level training camp. I don't know if my back could take it. I'm not sure. I got to get my shoulder checked out as well. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I may be just too old and broke down. The doctor is a little concerned about. He was concerned about what I do exactly in jiu-jitsu, because if you know anything about back surgeries, you have two choices. You can fuse your discs. That's the last resort. Or you could replace the discs. And if you fuse the disc, that just means your back's so messed up they just got to screw your vertebrae together, and you lose flexibility, and eventually the vertebrae on top of it or below it, they're going to go too, because just too much pressure from everything being screwed together and everything